Hey guys, what is going on? So this is going to be my first sub video for the year. First, I want to thank you guys for subbing. It really means a lot, especially since I know I have not been around to stream the last few months, but I am back. I'm going to at least make an attempt to come back in this game, as long as they fix a few things, and I think they will. But this is going to be an all-inclusive video. I'm not going to be focusing on one thing. I'm just going to be talking about the general state of the game, and I'm going to go through hitting, pitching, fielding, base running, a few random things, and just kind of give you guys some pointers here and there. And since this isn't going to be a too specific video, I am going to give you guys access to all the sub videos that I did last year, just to show my appreciation for you guys subbing. And there was a lot of good information last year that I put out. A lot of it still applies. So, I'll talk a little bit more about those as I send them out. But anyways, in this video, the first thing I want to talk about is the general state of the game. By the way, we're in practice here. It's Frank Thomas versus Kershaw. So I'll kind of mix things up as we go here. But first, I just want to talk about the general state of the game. Now, as many of you guys are aware, there are a lot of issues with the game. The main one being the PCI moving on its own. And I know you guys have heard me talk about it over and over, and you guys are probably sick of me talking about it by now. But I don't think people realize how bad it is. I went back last night after playing some ranked seasons and watched some clips frame by frame. And my first game I played, I just stopped counting after the fifth inning. There was 10 instances where my PCI moved on its own when I put a ball in play. So, 5 innings, that's 15 outs. So essentially 10 of my outs were because of that. Well, I think I got like one lucky hit on one of them, but for the most part, you're going to be hitting a weak chopper or a pop-up. It seems to me that, I don't know if it only happens when you center up the ball. I don't think so. But it seems to me that, for whatever reason, it'll always put your PC or the ball on the edge of your PCI, no matter what. So you have a very low percentage of getting a base hit when that actually occurs. So, like I said, I don't really think it's benefiting anybody. I don't think the PCI is going to move on its own and center the ball for you. It always puts it on the edge of the PCI. Like, I've never seen it benefit me at all. And I just started, paying attention and breaking out some clips frame by frame. It is really bad. It's really game breaking in my opinion. I'm trying not to make a big deal out of it publicly, but it is very bad. So if you guys, plan on playing ranked seasons, or I guess we only have another week, so I guess you have to get those games in. But if you plan on doing tournaments or anything, I would hold off for now. I do think they'll fix it. I think it's taking a little bit too long though. If this was like Madden or 2K, and there was a game-breaking bug as big as this one, I assure you the community would be in a much louder uproar than what the MLB community is now. For whatever reason, these guys are giving a lot of breaks to devs. But that's another discussion for another time. I just want you guys to be aware of how bad the PCI is. That's why it's kind of hard to make this video. That's why it's hard to kind of evaluate some players right now and recommend players. But I'm just going to go ahead and move on from that. It is bad. If you guys are noticing any trends or patterns, let me know. I'll send it to the dev team. I know they're still looking at things. It's been very frustrating for everybody. So moving on, some things I want to talk about. Just general hitting. So even that the PCI is bugged, if you play offline, you guys have probably noticed that the PCI does take a lot more precision this year. And the pitch speed is a little bit slower compared to last year. I shouldn't even say a little bit. So some things you want to focus on for hitting, and just in general, is you want to focus on precision more than anything else. The timing is still kind of lenient. Like, I've seen some just late, just earlies. I've seen some earlies on the outer third of the zone. So you want to be focusing on scoring up the pitch as best as you can, and you're going to get rewarded. It's simple as that. You really don't have to have a super quick bat right now. Like, I wasn't even on that pitch. That's weird. And you definitely want to be favoring power right now. Contact guys, and again, that's another problem in the game that they need to look at. And I think it also has to do with the larger PCIs. But you definitely want to be looking at power guys. I know last night I started playing ranked seasons, and I'll be the first to admit, I could have easily put Schimpf and Gallo out there over some other guys I was using, and I probably would have been more successful. Especially with the current state the game's in. It's like when you finally, when the game finally lets you square up a pitch, you want to make sure you're using a guy with power. That way you actually can do some damage. Because otherwise, the contact guys, they're just as bad. If you finally square up a pitch with a contact guy, you might get a single. But if you're using a power guy, the game decides not to screw you, you might end up with a home run, not a single. So, that's kind of all common sense. But yeah, moving on. Some things you guys want to think about if you don't already have them. Control freaks. Um, if you're not using control freaks, I do recommend them. If you've already tried them and they're just not for you, then I completely understand it. But not only control freaks, but you guys want to put your thumb more on top of the PCI this year. Kind of put like the tip of your thumb in an upward position on the PCI and focus more on precision. You really don't need to be too quick to the ball. And the higher you can go, like the more you can put the tip of your thumb on the left analog, the more precision you're going to get, but the slower bat you're going to have. And if you put like the more, meatier part of your thumb, the middle part of your thumb on it, the more flexibility you have, but the less your precision will be. So try to get closer to the tip of your thumb as you can on the PCI. There's a few videos out there, and I think I even did a sub video on this last year, so I'll send that to you guys, and you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. But definitely want to focus on precision. Batting cameras real quick. And again, I'm going through a lot of things here, so this is going to be kind of a long video, mainly because I feel guilty because I really don't have one thing to talk about for this sub video. But guys, I'm just going to Strike Zone. But there also is some other good cameras. There's Strike Zone 2, which I don't really like. It kind of has this fisheye look as well. Like, look at this. All right, so I'm just a tad behind the plate, a little bit more, but it looks like Kershaw is 10 feet farther out. It gives you a wider field of view, but I really don't think it's going to give you an advantage gameplay-wise. Strike Zone 3, I don't even know why this is called Strike Zone 3. This is another fisheye kind of look. I mean, look how far out Kershaw looks. I mean, that just looks awkward when the ball's coming in. You don't want to be playing a Strike Zone 2 or 3. Two other alternates I do recommend if you guys, just whatever for reason you don't like Strike Zone. Strike Zone High and Strike Zone Offset are very good. Offset kind of focuses on the inner part of the plate, so, I mean, that might actually help you a little bit. And Strike Zone High, it's just a little higher look. It's honestly not too much difference. So, whatever you guys prefer. And here's a little tip here. Now, if you guys aren't playing a monitor, you probably want to get a monitor, even though it's not really necessary for this year, but it's still going to make you a little bit better overall. But if you play on a monitor, guys, here's what I do. You want to make sure you're eye level with the pitcher's release point while you're playing this game. If you're not eye level, you need to find a way to either move your monitor up or down. So, move your chair down. If your desk is adjustable, move it down, move it up, whatever. You want to make sure you're eye level with the pitches coming in. Now, what I've done was I just stacked books up and I put my monitor on top of it. Otherwise I would feel like I'm above the pitcher and that would just look weird. But you do have some more cameras this year, so, if you want to go a little higher, maybe try Strike Zone High. So anyways, cameras, I'm sure you guys are already aware of those. Now I'm going to talk more about hitting philosophy so far with the current state the game is in. So in general, guys, I think you guys are all aware the off-speed pitches are a little too effective, and I'm not sure if like your PCI is moving less on fastballs and it seems to be more in them on off-speed pitches. That might be the case. I'm kind of leaning that way, but I don't know. For whatever reason, like pitches that are off-speed, low in the zone, it seems like your PCI is moving the most. I don't know why, but also the pitch speed is really slow. And I've had the most success just hitting straight up fastballs. So while you're batting, here's a few things you want to focus on. Do I have this on right? So a few things you want to focus on, guys, is you want to focus on hitting pitches in the middle of the plate and high in the zone and fastballs. So you want to look for meat pitches, basically. So in the sense that kind of is realistic, and you kind of want to avoid low pitches. Even if you think you can hit the curve, you could have hit it last year. You can hit a low changeup. It's hanging a little bit. In previous years, you can hit that. This year, I would just lay off those. You want to be patient until you can get a pitch up in the zone. Now, if you're not getting those pitches up in the zone, that's when things are going to start to suck. And unfortunately, there really isn't much you can do. Just besides being super patient, you might get some calls on the black that go against you. And again, a walk is the most important thing this year, is because it's a guaranteed free base. Whereas in the past, if you're that good to get the PCI on the ball, and hit it hard, this year that's not a guarantee so far. So definitely try to be patient and focus on pitches in the middle of the plate. Fastballs up. If you guys can get some fastballs up, be ready to hit them. Those are the pitches you're going to do the most damage on in general. I think the way the engine is, for whatever reason, they seem to be flying out this year. Not that high, but they seem to be flying out this year. So something else I want to talk about is the power swing versus contact swing. And I've been kind of going, I'm swinging at everything right now, but I've been going back and forth on the power swing versus, not contact swing, but normal swing. I've tried to exclusively power swing. I tried to exclusively normal swing. I don't really ever recommend contact swing, so ignore I kind of said that. But here's what I'm noticing. I really don't notice that the PCI is better or worse without, power swinging or just focus on normal swing or whatever. Do whatever you're comfortable with. Like, if you can square up the pitches last year and you have a big PCI, power swing. I don't think it's going to make a difference. Like, I don't think your PCI is going to be, even worse. And like I said before, you would think normal swing you have more leeway. But honestly, it doesn't even matter how big your PCI is, because I feel like when the game decides to bug out, it puts the ball on the edge of the PCI every single time. So to me, it doesn't really matter if you're normal swinging or power swinging. You just want to make sure you're on the ball as most as you can, and when the game decides not to finally screw you, you want to make sure you're on that pitch. So if you feel more comfortable power swinging doing that or normal swinging, use whatever you feel you're comfortable with. Power swinging, I do notice that it can be a little more effective if you square up the pitches. I don't think it's completely useless. I think it's pretty similar to the last few years. So yeah, I don't think all of a sudden power swings your PCI is gonna move less, as far as what I'm noticing. All right, something else I want to talk about, and this is more base running than hitting, but kind of plays into hitting a little bit, I guess. Is try to be a bit more aggressive on the base path. What I mean by that is don't try to steal every time, but try to mix in a few hit and runs. If you have a full count, hit and run every time. I mean, you guys all know if you have 2 outs, full count, hit and run. But if you have a full count anytime, I would hit and run in this game. It's so hard to strike out. So if you've been playing the last few years, or even if you're new, I've seen a lot of new players that it's hard for them to strike out. Hit and run. All right, so what you want to do is get on top of the ball, try to hit a grounder, and try to be late. Now, even if the game decides to screw you, you'll be all right, because you might hit a chopper or a swing and bunt, and you're still going to be able to advance the runner. Whereas you might have hit into a double play earlier. Yeah, so just be a little bit more aggressive. I'm not saying just straight up try to steal every time. If you have a guy like D. Gordon or something, yeah, try to steal. But if you are going to steal, mix up when you go. Don't always go on the first pitch. Don't always go on the second pitch. Don't always go on the third pitch. Mix up your leadoffs. Don't always lead off every single pitch. Sometimes show it more, show it less. Just mix it up. Try to be more aggressive on the base path. Try to work in some hit and runs. I think that's one of the ways right now to negate the PCI kind of acting all weird, and to kind of help you guys, score some more runs. Another thing, don't bunt. I mean, if you guys played the game last year, you probably know this, but don't bunt. Like, for instance, if your pitcher is up, just hit and run. Honestly, just find a count. Maybe take a pitch or two. Try to get your opponent's patterns down. If they're just throwing strike after strike to the pitcher, just do a hit and run. You can contact swing, normal swing, whatever. That's more safe than bunting, because if you bunt and you pop it up, you're going to hit into double play. Yeah, there's that chance you can line out with your pitcher and hit into double play or even a triple play, but bunting is very inconsistent. They can still double you up even if you send the runner. So yeah, don't bunt. It's really not worth it. One more thing I want to talk about with the hitting, and if you guys didn't notice, your PCI can't get to the corners still. It can get to the bottom of the strike zone, it can get to each side of the strike zone, it can get to the top of the strike zone, but it cannot get to the corners. So this kind of sucks. You're going to use it to your advantage while pitching, but for hitting, again, this is kind of why you want to focus on pitches that are, near the middle of the plate, that are not at the corners. If they're at the corner, you're going to have to start telling yourself, don't swing. And this is going to apply all year unless they fix it. I don't necessarily think it's a bug. Maybe they designed it to be this way. Don't get me wrong, you can still hit pitches on the corner, but you can't ever line them up perfectly, so your chances go down a little bit. But that's why you want to start focusing on hitting pitches that are near the middle of the plate and not near the corners. Pitching to the corner is going to be a little bit more realistic. So yeah, just keep that in mind with your guys' batting philosophy this year. Like that last pitch, for example, like I couldn't get all the way up there. I still hit it out because I'm playing at Polo Grounds, but those, like last year, I would have been able to get my PCI on that perfectly and probably would have hit it a lot harder. So next we're going to move on to pitching. All right. For whatever reason, this first sizer does not have a sinker. I'm going to kind of talk about pitching in general this year. Guys, for starting pitchers, the two best pitches I'm telling you right now, and even the current state of the game, is sinker and cutter. So usually Hershiser has a sinker. I don't know why he has a two-seamer right now. But the sinker is still probably the best pitch, even with the current state of the game. The pitch that is actually a lot more effective this year than it was in the past are curveballs. Knuckle curves, sweeping curves, slurves. They're all a lot more effective for whatever reason. What I was talking about earlier. Curveballs low in the zone. They're actually pretty usable this year. I think it's messing up people's PCI. I'm not sure, but for right now they're usable. This might change later down the road. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm telling you guys the two most important pitches, and this is going to be a trend all year, is sink or cutter. So focus on those two pitches. If you can get one of those pitches or two of those pitches for a starter, it's going to be golden. Right now, velo isn't as important. I still think you can get fastballs occasionally by people, so I wouldn't say it's useless. They have upped the pitch speed a few times, and I'm going to try to talk with them some more, see if we can up the pitch speed at least for ranked season. So I don't think those high velo guys are going to be completely useless, but if you guys can get a guy with a sinker, like Syndergaard, he's a perfect example. He has one of the hardest sinkers in the game. I still find those guys are going to be very usable throughout the year. Now, as I was saying before, your opponents cannot get the PCI to the corners of the strike zone. So in this year's game, more than any other game, you'll be able to actually pitch successfully to the strike zone or to the corners. Now, in previous shows, a lot of people could just get their PCI over there, and it's honestly one of the easier pitches to hit on the corner. Because their PCI, that's how far it would go, and it was kind of like, I always compared it to a panic knife situation in Call of Duty. People just, they would panic and just hit the R3 button, and they would get a kill. I mean, that's kind of how it's been in MLB. People would just panic and put their PCI all the way down, and you made a good pitch, low and away, but they're still able to get their PCI on it, and they're late, and they hit it out on you. This year, not so much for a few reasons. Like I said, they can't get their PCI there, and for two, the pitch speed's a little slower. So in general, even like a lot of newer players are having a quicker bat this year, so a lot of times they're rolling that over or hitting little choppers or weak flyouts. But just be aware that if you're not hitting the corners and you hang it about right in here in this area, they're going to be able to pull those for home runs with early bats. So make sure you're getting those pitches away. Curveballs away, sliders away, those are the best pitches. If you're going to do a fastball away, make sure you hit your spot, because if you miss it, they're probably going to be on it. So yeah, definitely utilize the fact that they can't get their PCI to the corners. I would probably, kind of stray away from pitching high and inside, because I think that's one of the easier pitches to hit right now. And I can't believe I'm saying that after playing the show for 10 years. This is the hardest pitch to hit. But high and away works pretty effectively. Just make sure you attack the corner, and if you throw straight high, straight up, make sure you get it up, because they can still hit those out this year. And honestly, it's I've seen some people just tomahawk some balls out. It's really weird. So be aware of that. Now, in general, I still think some of these other pitches and locations are effective. Pitching in the middle of the plate, like right here off the edge, yes, they can get their PCI on those, but a lot of people are going to overcompensate, and those are still one of the hardest pitches to hit. Like a sinker right in here, anywhere near the middle of the plate is a very difficult pitch to hit, because a lot of times people's PCIs, they just can't get it to them. They're going to overcompensate. It's hard to move your PCI directly to the side rather than, accidentally moving it directly, at an angle up or down where they're going to be on top of it or over it. On top of it or under it, I should say. So I think those pitches are still effective, but I'm just telling you guys right now, you can actually pitch to the corners a little bit more this year. Obviously you want to mix it up and whatnot, but if something's working, just stick with it. We all kind of know that low off speed is the meta, especially like low breaking balls and curveballs. I would still try to mix up pitches, though. I wouldn't just spam low, unless you're playing somebody really, really good and they're not going to be fooled by anything, and then yeah, maybe you want to spam something like that and get cheesy, at least until they fix the game. But in the game's current state, that's kind of how you want to pitch, guys. Something else, you want to be aware of their swing timing. I mean, I figure this is kind of obvious, but if they're always early, don't throw them anything inside. Don't throw them a fastball. Keep throwing cutters away, sliders away, curveballs away, low off speed. Like, seriously, don't give in. There's really no point, especially if you're playing BR or events and, you're trying to grind away and earn those stubs. I understand it can be kind of cheesy and spammy, but that's the current state the game is in, unfortunately. I hope they can fix it. I know it gets kind of boring, but I'm just telling you guys that's what's worked. That's what's worked for me in events and BR. So, yeah, go away at it and spam away. Unfortunately, that's the meta of the current game. Your opponent, your good opponents are probably going to do the same thing to you, so I realize it can be annoying. But definitely, get good at hitting those pitches low and away. And then again, pitch to corners, mix it up. But again, if their swing timing is early, don't throw them a fastball. Off speed, off speed, off speed, off speed, off speed, off speed. Unless you're up like 5-0 and you want to mix in a fastball high and edge, sure. But if it's 1-0, 2-0, there's no reason to give them a pitch that they're capable of, you know, tying the game up or cutting the lead in half. Just keep spamming away at the low off speed. One thing I will talk about with defense, guys, especially on the infield, is you guys want to make sure you're charging the ball as best as you can. Take a direct route to the ground balls, try to charge them, and preload your throws. And make sure you're using throw meter. If you guys aren't using throw meter, I mean, most of you guys should be. It's set to all-star difficulty, and you can practice this offline. Yeah, I think we can practice this right now. I guess you can't, but I mean, if you go Road to the Show or something, you can practice it, or franchise, whatever. Make sure you guys are charging balls and preloading your throws, and use the throw meter. Get good at the throw meter. It'll just become second nature. And for outfield, try to take direct routes to the ball. I mean, that's really the best I can give you. I think a lot of times in the outfield, the errors are just going to be kind of random, and sometimes you just can't get to the ball. Whatever, nothing you can do. But that's really all the tips I have for defense. All right, something else I want to talk about, and I don't think I can show this in practice, but we're going to talk about defense. So yeah, defense is kind of weird this year. It seems like they have fixed it a little bit, and it's not quite as bad. I honestly don't have a huge problem with defense right now. I feel like the higher defensive guys are making the plays as they should. Yeah, there's a few times, you know, where they make some stupid play. I mean, errors are going to happen. If you guys send me a clip of an error, you know, I've seen a few people do that. I'm not going to, I mean, there's nothing they can do about that. It's an error. They're going to happen eventually. You guys are playing hundreds of games already. Errors are going to happen. I realize major leaguers probably aren't going to, you know, just drop fly balls as frequent as what they do in this game. I honestly haven't seen that many. But errors happen. I think for the most part, the defense is fine. I mean, the biggest issue is the PCI moving on its own. But this leads me to my next point. Defensive shifts. All right, especially if you're playing this lefty-on-lefty event, guys, pay attention to your opponent's swing timing. If they are early every single time, all right, keep the shift on. But some funky things happen when the shift is on. I've noticed a lot of times, more often than not, this is when your outfielders are going to jog to the ball. Again, this is another bug, but your outfielders will jog to the ball. And I'll notice a guy like Ryan Schimpf, he'll beat the shift, he'll hit a grounder, you know, up the middle to the shortstop's left, and the center fielder will jog to it, and you end up with a triple somehow. All right. For the most part, guys, you know, you can keep shifts on the first few times. But what I like to do is whenever I feel like, you know, I want to mix it up and I'm kind of scared to throw them inside because I feel like their PCI placement's good and they've been hitting a lot of good pitches foul, I'm going to start to take that shift off. And I'm going to put on, usually what I'll do is I'll put on guard lines. For whatever reason, I feel like the infield reacts better on guard lines, and it will take away more doubles. There'll be a few times where, yeah, they might beat it, but whatever. You can just use normal, you know, normal infield defense shift if that's what you guys want to do. But yeah, I'll do guard lines. But the most important thing you guys want to be aware of is your outfield depth. Now, if a guy like D. Gordon is up and you notice your opponent has a late swing, a late bat, and you keep spamming him high and inside pitches, trying to get that pop up. I mean, if other high contact guys in low power, you want to spam them, you know, high pitches. I didn't talk about that earlier, but you kind of do want to spam them higher pitches and get that pop up until, you know, they can at least, you know, get a hit off of it and, you know, get an earlier swing and a quicker bat. But if they have a late bat, just spam those, spam those pitches high in the zone. Try to generate some weak pop-ups. But be aware, there are going to be times when they get bloops, and you guys are going to have to pick this up on your own. You're going to want to bring your outfielders in and play shallow. I did that a lot, and it saved me a lot of hits. Now, there are going to be times where they might burn you. Be aware of that. I've only had it happen a few times. So, for instance, times you probably don't want to play shallow. If it's a tie game and you have D. Gordon, well, I mean, this is kind of up to you guys, but just be aware if it's, you know, D. Gordon's leading off and it's a tie game and he hits something in the gap, that's going to be a for sure triple if he burns your outfield. So, you know, be aware of who you have in your outfield. If you have good outfielders, I would be tempted to play in more. If you have bad outfielders, that's really up to you guys. Do you guys want to try to play more riskier and take away that hit on a possible bloop, or you guys want to stay back and make sure D. Gordon, you know, isn't getting a double or triple to lead off an inning and potentially win that game in that inning? So just be aware of that. I personally am playing a little bit more riskier, and I am playing my outfield shallow, even if it's guys with power. Like if they're just hitting bloop, 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 and they're not hitting the ball well, play in, take away those bloop hits, especially against weaker opponents. Now, if you're playing a good opponent, you probably don't want to do that. But I'm not a fan of playing my outfield depth deep. I feel like my opponent gets so many more hits than they do because of that, rather than me taking away extra base hits or something because I got him playing deep, you know. So just be aware of your outfield depth, especially like if bases are loaded and if they have the winning run, you know, on third or second. You guys want to play your outfield shallow. That way, at least, you know, they have a chance to, you know, make a play at the plate, catch the ball and throw it into the plate, get that double play, or even if it's a base hit and they got the game-winning run or tying run in second. That way, they have a better chance to make that play at the plate. Because if you're playing medium depth, you're probably not going to throw anybody out unless they're super slow. So just be more aware of that, and don't be afraid to shift. What I use is the D-pad. I hit down and I change it. Now be aware that it will take away some time from you guys. I think it takes away like 10 seconds or so every time you pause it. So if you pause it back to back anyways. So just be aware of your timer. Make sure you guys do it quick. You can also set your defensive shifts up before the game entirely. So if you want to play shallow on everybody, you can just set that up before the game. I just kind of like to do it mid-shift. And a lot of times, like, I'll keep the shift on for a pitch or two, and then I'll shift the guard lines, and it really kind of messes my opponents. And they're thinking, oh, well, you know, he must be, excuse me, I can't talk. He must be thinking that he's going to be able to jam me or pitch away here, and, you know, just keep making your pitches, whatever. Like, just always keep that in the back of your mind. If your opponent isn't picking up on things like that, and they have the same swing timing all game, it don't matter. Just keep spamming away at it. So that's pretty much it with defense and pitching. One last thing I want to talk about, holding runners, which I kind of guess this applies to pitching. If you have somebody on, or if your opponent has somebody on base, make sure you're mixing up your slide steps and your pitch outs and just your normal pitches. Just mix it up, trust me. Like maybe one at bat, there's a guy in first. First pitch, slide step. Second pitch, normal pitch. Third pitch, pitch out. Next time, you know, some guy with decent speed is up. Maybe throw over a few times, you know, and then pitch normal a few times, and then start doing slide steps. Or maybe one time just do slide steps every time and do a couple, you know, and do a few pitch outs in that at bat. I would never do like 3 pitch outs in a row. You don't want to give them too much of an advantage, but just show them that, and it will slow a lot of people down. And that's really the best way to stop people from stealing bases, is for them not to attempt a steal at all. That's really all I have, guys. It's kind of just rambling, kind of going over everything a little bit. If you guys ever have any ideas for sub videos, please let me know and I'll go over those. And I'm going to give you guys access to all the videos, all the sub videos I did last year. I did quite a few. So I did, for instance, on how to hit knucklers, how to pitch with knucklers. I know a lot of you guys are struggling out there when they bring Phil Niekro in. You know, I think I have one about reading pitches. With Nate Jones, you can still see it this year. Diekman, you can still see it a little bit, even though it's pretty difficult for him. So you can actually pick up their pitches. There's a few other where I talk about, you know, PCI placement and thumb positioning, I believe. There's quite a bit out there, so I'm just going to give you guys access to all of them. And then hopefully next time the game will be fixed, and I'll be able to go over some stuff more in detail and focus on 1 or 2 things. So if you guys have ideas for the next videos, let me know. Like, I can go into more in-depth things, for instance, like hitting lefty on lefty, or hitting opposite handedness, or, you know, pitching the same handedness or opposite handedness, whatever it may be. It can be as specific as you guys want it to be. Like, I've had some really specific videos last year. So yeah, I'm going to give you guys all the links to all the private videos that I had last year. Again, I would recommend not sharing them, but I mean, I can't stop you guys from doing that. If you want to share with a friend, whatever, you guys have the right to do that for subbing. But just keep in mind, you know, some of the things I say, a lot of people aren't going to know about, so it can give you a slight advantage. But whatever, I can't stop you guys from doing that. Anyways, guys, I just want to thank you guys for subbing. I'm sorry this video was kind of long and rambly, but I do appreciate all your guys' support. And again, thanks for subbing. And if you guys ever have any ideas, let me know. You can let me know on Twitter, DM, or send me something in my Twitch inbox. I'm gonna start checking that more often than not. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.